So excited. Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes while more people populate. So excited about this evening. Welcome to the Beauty Box Women Empowerment and Bible Studies podcast. Tonight, we're going to have the beautiful, smart, talented, inspirational Kathy Eberwein on. I cannot wait for you to meet her. While we're waiting, I am going to just say a little bit about what we're doing here. The Beauty Box for Him, Women Empowerment and Bible Studies, is a result of an answered prayer. Super Bowl Sunday, that would be February 12th, 2023. In the middle of the night, I was praying and asking God for a location, a spot for my training and things for my business. And he said, use it for me. I almost heard it audibly. It blew my mind because in all my years of praying, I have never had God to answer me like that so clearly. So basically, I asked him to help me to think outside of the box, and he did immediately. That is why we are called the Beauty Box for Him, because it's for Him, and it's about knowing God, growing in His word, in His ways, and showing Him to others. I have noticed a disconnect with women. They're not connected. We're not going to church like we used to, and we're not connected to other sisters in Christ. And so that's always been heavy on my mind, and it just all came together. And so we are here, we are born. So it's not about just Bible study, studying the Bible, but it's about empowering. It's about having women come on to share where they are. And I love a good backstory. So it's not even about the woman where she is, it's how she got there, what she had to go through to get there, because I love that. It's not about the goal, it's about who you're becoming. So I love that. Who's that? Hello. Let me turn on my cell phone so I can see who is on with us. I know you guys are coming. Who's that? Hey, Amelia Amos, how are you? I'm so happy that you're here. Okay, so it is 7:01, and I am really excited to introduce longtime friend, Christian, and the way I introduced her as a engineer mom turned global CEO. I love that. Her name's Kathy Eberwein. So let me put my glasses on so I can read a little bit about her. I feel like we are all going to be blessed just hearing her story. She is an ordinary woman that God has used to do extraordinary things. Don't you just love it when He puts His super on our natural? I just love it. Okay, so let me just share with you about Kathy Eberwein. Kathy Eberwein, founder and CEO of Global Edge Group, Medical Edge Recruitment, and Global Edge Managed Solutions, is a dynamic leader with over 20 years of experience leading teams in the recruitment arena. Her education and work experience before recruitment comes with a technical background as a mechanical engineer in the power and environmental industries. Kathy's background includes project development of greenfield cogeneration power plant facilities, including project financing, permitting, construction and engineering of multi-million-dollar projects. Following this, Kathy moved into the environmental engineering field, working on complex permitting issues for hazardous waste, landfill, and incinerators. This blows my mind. This is crazy. Through an unusual circumstance, we have to ask her about that. Through an unusual circumstance, she stumbled into technical recruiting and immediately discovered a passion for changing the lives of others through recruitment. Kathy was instrumental and led the initial launch and development of U.S. operations for two of the largest energy staffing firms. Using her own experience as an engineer combined with the best lessons learned from building two large global recruitment divisions, she ventured out on her own and created the Global Edge Consultants in April of 2008. How many years ago was that? 2008. Okay, I'll do the math later. Kathy is proud to have one of the first woman-owned recruitment agencies in the global arena for the industry and continues to expand in size and global footprint. I am so excited. Her vision is to become the agency of choice in the global energy arena as she continues to propel the global edge to new levels of growth and excellence. Kathy has a strong family values and is the mother of 4 children. She has a passion for giving back to the community and in particular for helping other women in their lives and careers. Hence why she is here helping us. I love it. Kathy volunteers and sits on several boards in addition to the company she has formed, including the University of Maryland Mechanical Engineering Visiting Committee Board and the Team Phenomenal Hope Board. Kathy has been a huge proponent of social responsibility and has deemed it to be a core value for the Global Edge. This passion was reflected in 2019 when Kathy founded the Doyen, I don't know if I said good, Doyen Initiative, an NGO dedicated to elevating women through higher education and specialized career and leadership development and equipping women to hold the most esteemed and executive roles in their respective fields. The program experienced several obstacles as it was launched. However, Kathy did not let that stop her and forged forward with the first cohort of the Doyeness. She's going to tell us how to say that. Doyeness. As they prosper. They will be role models who influence their countries, communities, families, and generations to come. So it is with pride and honor, and I am just humbled to introduce my girl. She is just making power moves, and we were talking one day at a time, one step at a time. And you know, we talk about walking by faith, not by sight. She is the definition, and I love her so much that she's paying it forward. I'm sure people have done it for her, and she's coming back to share with us some of her lessons that she's learned through life. And it has not always been easy, but it has been worth it. So help me to welcome Kathy Eberwein. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, thank you. That's way too kind, Cheryl, but thank you very much. I'm happy to be here and happy to support you. I love this story. I love your cause, and I know that God's put it on your heart, so it's going to be phenomenal.
And what I love is that I have people like you to reach and look up to. And I love that people here, they get to hear your story. And so we are excited about hearing your story because that's what I came for. That's why I'm at the party. Welcome to the party, y'all. And so I would like for you to share just a little bit about yourself. Who is Kathy Eberwein and how did she get here?
Right. Gosh, who is she? Always changing, I think, who I am. But formerly Kathy Hetrick. I grew up in Maryland, so I'm a transplant to Texas, but I've been here for 30 years now. But I grew up with a pretty big family, but parents were educators, so we didn't really have a lot of money growing up, but we had a lot of love and support, good family values. And somehow along the way, I think our parents instilled that we could do whatever we set our minds to. Somewhere along the way, they planted that seed. And so moved to Texas and had my first child. I was working as an engineer, which is what I got my degree in, and really didn't want to work. Believe it or not, people look at my story now and think, I can't imagine you as a stay-at-home mom, but it's really what I wanted to do. And so, as you know, Cheryl, this is how we met each other. I started my Mary Kay business because I really wanted to stay home. And as you look back in your life, it's interesting how things weave together, but that was one of the most impactful things that set me up for my later story, which I'll get to. But it did give me some flexibility, allowed me to stay home. I continued to have more children, and proceeded with my Mary Kay business and learned a lot about women and empowering women and sales, which I was never a salesperson. But I got to a point where I was sort of ready for a change. I loved Mary Kay. It was so influential for me. Loved everything about building people up in a world that's so negative. Had a lot of very strong Christian comrades in Mary Kay and just really had good values. But I was just ready for something different. And as you know, in Mary Kay, you recruit. And I was an engineer. And I happened to stumble onto a recruiter who did engineering recruitment. And he said, "Hey, you've done recruitment in Mary Kay and you're an engineer. Why don't you do engineering recruitment?" And I thought, that sounds interesting. So I tried it and I loved it. It was my thing. I know I was in Mary Kay to teach me all of the things I needed to learn to set me up for this chapter. And I didn't have anybody teach me the chapter that I'm in now. I sort of had to learn by the school of hard knocks, but I really loved it. I loved the people aspect. I loved that I had the technical background to be able to speak that lingo with people. It was international. In Houston, the energy industry is global. So it really allowed me to meet interesting people, and I just loved it. So I built the first company for 5 years, and then they sold. And then I went to another company and I built that for them. It was all me building it, and they sold. And I thought after the third time, when you're building something, it's really primarily yourself and your efforts. And it's a lot of work, hard work. I thought, if I'm doing this again, I am doing it for myself. I'm going to go out on my own. And so I put a plan together, and I did. And at that point, I had 4 children, and I was going through a divorce, which not ideal. But in any event, it was literally the day after my divorce, I started the company. So
Wow.
I look back now sometimes and people say, "Weren't you afraid?" And I really wasn't. I had prayed about it. I really wasn't fearful. I probably should have been. I look back now and think I should have been really afraid, but I wasn't. And that was in 2008. And here we are 15 years later. And
So you started your business, in 2008. That's when you opened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing your story about how you had built for other companies a couple times. And it's like, because it's kind of like Mary Kay's story. She was so successful and she trained all these guys that went over to be promoted over her. And so when she finally retired, she said, I'm going to do this for myself, and I'm going to do this for women so that they can have an equal opportunity to be unequaled. And I love that. I love that you said, you know what? Because it's true. And one thing Kathy and I were talking about, y'all, is a Bible study fellowship. She didn't know that I'd been in Bible study fellowship for all these years, and she had been in it. And so she said she wasn't scared because she probably had grown some muscles as far as that goes. She had been through a lot. Because I feel like if you've been through a lot, at some point you are more fearless than you used to be. So my question to you is, I know that starting something new and different, what made you say, I can do this? Or did you not even think about it? How did you go from that to, recruitment and engineering? Yeah, I did do that. Did you have to think about it? What happened? Because, we talk about feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah, right. So do you mean when I switched into doing engineering recruitment or when I started the company?
When you switched, because that was like a whole new thing. So both times, actually.
Yeah. So, it was sort of, like I said, unusual. I kind of stumbled onto this and I was kind of ripe for a change. Sometimes you're just in
Yeah.
that place. So I was open to something new, and it was pretty quick for me to know that I liked it. So that I had that kind of aha moment.
Right.
So that sort of just ran its course. It was hard, but I liked it. So I think when you're passionate, you'll do the hard. In terms of starting the company, I think I knew in my gut that I had been the one that built these other organizations, and it was really, really hard. I had been through some pretty tough years of building for them, and I just thought, if I'm going to do it again, I'm going to do it for myself. So I didn't really take time to be afraid. I was really more focused on it. Failure was non-negotiable. I was a single mother. Like, that was just not an option. So it wasn't a question of
And
if.
how old were your kids at the time?
So they were 16, 11, 8, and 3.
And that's when you started, right after a divorce, you started your
Yeah.
business. And did you ever think that you'd be in, what is it, Qatar, Suriname? Am I saying that right?
Mhm.
South Korea, Brazil, Mozambique, Guyana. Did you ever think all of that when you started your company?
Well, so the name is the Global Edge, right? So I always knew we had to be global to compete in this space. The companies I had built were 40 years old, billion-dollar companies. So I knew we were going to be global. I didn't really think we'd be in this many countries, but you just do what you have to do when you're building a business, and it's been so exciting, so fun for me. Global experience. My children have gotten to travel with me and see the world, and it's a great blessing. You get to see a lot of different cultures and people, and
It is such a blessing. So I have to ask you, looking back over your life, what advice would you give your young adult self? Like, looking back, if you could look back, what if you had some doubts or whatever, what advice would you give yourself about the world and life and taking
Mhm.
chances and all of that?
Gosh, there's probably a lot of probably a lot of things that we learn, right? But I think probably one that's really resonated personally and professionally, and it took a while to get here. You do a lot of things. I don't want to say the wrong things, but you do things and you learn, and we all evolve, and you'd like to think you become a better version of yourself. But one thing I would say is be who you are. Um, Doing this business, we're the only woman-owned company in the world doing this in this global space. Most
Wow.
of the companies are British, and
Yeah.
they're male owned, and so I had a lot of people in my ear telling me, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that," and I've always been a little bit of against the grain thinker, and so I let people tell me what I should do. And in hindsight, I usually went back and did what I wanted to do, and that ended up working. So I think as women, we get a lot of noise in our ears, often telling us what we should be, how we should look, what we should do. And I think our core, inner strength will guide us if we would just listen. So if I would have something to say to myself, I'd say, be who you are. I am now. Now I just kind of don't care. I'm doing it, right? But
Yes, yes. And trust your gut, trust
yeah,
your own instinct.
well, that is part of who you are, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying, because you said I did stuff that they said, but I usually went back and did what I should have done in the first place.
yeah,
Right? Because I feel like probably you prayed a lot about it and God probably told you what to do. And sometimes people talk us out of the thing. So, because of your obedience to your call, I'm looking at your projects and all the women that you're helping. What is the most exciting and fulfilling thing going on because of your decision to do what you're doing?
gosh, it's hard to pick one, I would say. But so for starters,
Tell us a few. You can tell us a
yeah,
few.
yeah. So for the Global Edge, I think what's exciting for me, very much like raising your kids, I have people in the business that have grown with me, and it's sort of their time. I'm still very involved in the business, but I'm trying to give them their opportunity to take their seat at the table, and they're doing it with really high standards, a lot of pride, a lot of really good values, which is important in this day and age. So for me, super exciting. We're growing, we're exponentially growing. That's all great. But the people side, like they're bought in and they're just thriving. And that for me is rewarding as a leader. It's my favorite thing. Forget the money, forget the, the sales and all of that. So from the business side, that's exciting. From the philanthropy side, the nonprofit I've started, I'm super passionate about, and we've had our first cohort doyens. So you said doyens. This is our first cohort of doyens graduate with their master's degrees, and it's going to be so impactful. I know it. So I think for me, that's probably my greatest buzz, because I know that's where I'm headed in the next chapter, is to do that full time.
So who are the doyens and how did that happen?
So first, I'll tell you what a doyen is. A doyen is the most prominent or well-respected female in their field. It's a French word, but that's what it means. So I have always had a passion for social responsibility, and it's part of the Global Edge. We always knew we were going to give back everywhere we were. And we do a lot of different things, from back to school to you name it. But I wanted to do something big in every country. And I was kind of wrestling. I couldn't get my mind around what to do, because there's so much, in Africa, and there's poverty, there's hunger, there's illiteracy. So anyway, I bounced around with a lot of different ideas, but I was at the US Africa Business Summit in 2019, and there were 9 African presidents and heads of states at this, including female head of the South African Stock Exchange and World Bank. And there was a continued theme around why women needed to be economically empowered, because with money gives choices, and they also give twice as much back to the community when they're prosperous. So I had that aha moment. I thought I should do it for women. I mean, I should have thought about it before, right? I'm a woman engineer, but I went down the next morning, sat with the ambassador of Mozambique, and I said, I've got it. I know what I'm going to do. So the Doyen Initiative is designed to take women who don't have the opportunity to further themselves and really stand them up and lift them up to the top of their game, so that they are the most prominent or well-respected. So we started with a class of engineers in Mozambique, and we brought them to the States to get master's degrees. Now they're working on internships. One is going to get her PhD, and then they'll go back in country and be able to influence other young women. The number of women that graduate in Africa from college is very low, but you look at engineering, it's like so low. And now we've expanded to Houston, and we're doing another class of doyens that's going to be in virology. It's not just engineering, but the dream is to go global and have 4 main pillars: engineering, IT tech, commercial, like lawyers, bankers, deal makers that can be CEOs, and then healthcare. We felt like if we have these 4 verticals, everything else will flow from that: hunger, poverty. They'll give to education. So it's a big dream, a lot of work to be done, but you got to start somewhere. So that's kind of the Doyen Initiative. And our first women mobilized here from Mozambique, with English not being their primary language. They speak Portuguese, in the middle of COVID, and they got their master's degrees, and they killed it. They were so good. I'm so proud of them. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do. And now we're working on our next classes to expand, and I think it's going to be amazing.
What blows my mind is that you just stepped outside of your comfort zone. I mean, it was kind of your zone, your kind of wheelhouse. Engineering and recruitment, it was your thing, but you stepped out to do it for yourself. And just because of that, all of this is going on. Could you ever have thought in a million years that you would be making this big of an impact globally and all the lives of these women and these people that you're helping? Does that blow your mind?
Yeah, a little bit sometimes. I think, the dream is big, so we're just getting started. But, the company side, I always had big ideas because I'd worked for big companies.
Yeah.
But this dream, not really. But now I look at it and think, if I built the global company, I can build this global nonprofit. We're going to do it. You just have to take one step at a time. And I think that's another thing I would tell my younger self. You don't have to do it all. Rome wasn't built in a day. You just have to start. You've got to start somewhere. And so even with this nonprofit, people say, well, I'm not in engineering, I'm not in that. I'm like, it's not about that. That's just our first class. We're going to have more classes. And it's like one step at a time. It really is life. And so I have big dreams and big plans for it.
You are the definition of somebody thinking outside of the box. And that was my question to God, help me to think outside of the box. And he said, use it for me. And the beauty box for him was born.
And
that's how it came to happen, because never in a million years would I have thought that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. Because in my head, it was Mary Kay all day and become an NSD. You know how we think. It never occurred to me that God would have something else for me to do. Because in my head, it was all, but what do you think about being open to different things? Because I feel like you're open to different things, but a lot of people, we have it in our head. We went to school for this, or we trained for this, and this is what we're going to do. But when you're open, God can do so much more, and he can use you for such bigger and better things. What do you think about that?
I do. And you know what? We have 5 core values at our company, by the way, Cheryl. One of them is outside of the box, big thinking. That is one. It's on our wall in our office.
Wow.
So I have to send a picture for you.
That's why we're friends.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. If you look nowadays, I think people's careers are different anyway. They twist and they turn and they do different things. But absolutely, I think each season prepares you for the next. And you don't always know at the time. You just have to trust it. Be in the season. Know the next season's going to be something different. When you look back, you see this tapestry of life. And you see how, I see how Mary Kay was so instrumental in what I'm doing. And I see how some of my struggles that I had are so instrumental in why I'm so passionate about helping women. All of those things kind of come together. If you listen and you're open-minded, you'll hear the things that are like seeds that are planted. Oh, I think I should do that. So absolutely. I think always be open to new things, and it's exciting. And sometimes you don't know what's coming around the corner, but that's part of the adventure, this thing we're doing called life, So
that's what I always say, Kathy. We can see linear, we can see straight ahead, but God can see around the corners. And if we'll just take one step at a time and trust and obey, we can do amazing things. I love that you started this business at what age? Can we tell? What age did you start your business?
42.
42. And a lot of people, honestly, have you heard the saying that most people die at the age of 40? They're just not buried until they're 75 or 80. They stop living. They stop dreaming. Why are you laughing?
I see it. I do. Yeah.
They stop growing. It's like, this is my life. And it's like, this is only the beginning, because God can make your latter years better than your former years if you're open to it, because he's not going to make us do anything. I tell women all the time, life begins for women at 40. It just doesn't even start until then. I think it's so true. You find out so much about yourself, and you're more comfortable, and definitely more comfortable with other women, helping other women. So that's just getting going. Yes.
I hope.
Yeah, and I'm excited because you're a granny now, a grandma, a glamma. Because you're how many grandbabies do you have?
4 now, as of 2 weeks ago. So
4 kids, 4 grandbabies, and your son is like the #1 basketball player in Houston, says Bike Magazine, right?
Yeah, he's done some really good things, mostly through hard work.
Yes.
They pick up on that, but no, it's fun, as you know. So my daughter, who just had her baby, was who we were pregnant with together, bopping around those 27 years ago.
Yeah.
So life goes full circle.
Yeah, we were both pregnant at the same time. That is crazy. So tell me about your life. Now, tell me where you were 2 days ago.
So 2 days ago, I was in Phoenix. 4 days ago, I was in Rio de Janeiro. And before that, I was here. So I was bopping between her having the baby and going to our Brazil office, and then back to visit the baby and back to Houston.
I am excited because you are never too busy to help out, to help the women of the Beauty Box Women Empowerment. And just your whole life is about giving. And I think that's the magic. That's when the magic happens. Like you say, you're not focused on money, you're focused on improving lives, helping people in different ways. And I love that so much. I love that about you. I respect you so much for that, and that you're here, because I know you could have been doing a million things, namely sleep right now, but you're here to support and help us. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to have friends like you. You're truly a godsend. Okay.
Well, I feel the same way, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited for your dream and your vision.
I'm so
excited on it.
Yes, I'm so excited. So that we're coming towards the end of our meeting today, but I'd just like to ask you, is there anything you would like to leave the Beauty Box ladies with? Is there any words of wisdom or encouragement that you can leave us with?
Well, we've covered quite a bit. I think really, if I were to, we talked about my words that I would give my younger self. Maybe that's a little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
I think encouragement would just be that every single thing, Romans 8:28 is one of my favorite verses, but everything works together for the good. Not some things, all things. So you have to know, even when you're going through unknown territory or tough times or challenges, it all does work together for the good. You just have to trust the process, trust the journey. You hear those words all the time, but it really does. And if you stop stressing about it and just know it's going to work out, how it's meant to work out, not necessarily the way you think it's supposed to be, but it's going to work out the way it's meant to, takes a lot of the anxiety away, and you can just enjoy the journey.
How old were you when you got that? A lot of people, it's like we struggle with that, but then you say, because you know that, like, I don't know if you know, but right now I'm going through issues, scans and labs and all of that, and I choose joy. And it's a conscious decision every single day to choose. And we had a devotional about this like a couple of weeks ago, and the title of it was Trust and Do Good. So basically, take all of your worries, all of your anxieties, give them to God, and go and do good, and let Him take care of the things we can't control. I don't even think that wasn't scripted, but I don't think you could have left us with a better thought in scripture. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That's why I keep you around. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. I'm going to continue to that you're doing, that everything you touch is blessed, and all of that good stuff. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and we will talk soon.
Yes, we will. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for joining.